All right. Thank you for everyone that is joining us live. Today we have a very special guest, Kayana. Kayana has been an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur, and has been a student of my program and my mentoring program. And so here's Kayana, and welcome to our podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Great. So tell us a little bit about. I know that we've talked a lot before. You're a very creative individual. You work in the creative area, in the creative arena. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what you're currently aspiring to do.
Yes. Right now, I really have my hands in everything. I do digital arts, graphics, videography, photography. I recently got into e-commerce as well, and I have my own brand. I'm actually wearing it right now,
Awesome.
and working on new pieces as well, and working on making sure that the marketing for both sides is doing better, and learning how to get into the ads and doing those things for myself until I'm ready to delegate it.
So there's always a lot of challenges whenever anyone starts a new brand, a new venture. What were some of the first obstacles that you faced? I know there's many, and I know that for every individual is different.
Yeah.
But what do you think was that big hurdle that you successfully overcame with doing your due diligence and such?
I think it's really not allowing things to stop you. And that's an ongoing obstacle that you're going to have because as an entrepreneur, you learn it's not something that comes easy. That's why most people don't do it.
Right.
It's persevering. I think is always going to be the biggest challenge, and it's always been my biggest hurdle. But keeping it going. I know eventually, if you don't quit, you won't fail. So
Exactly. It's that consistency that, and um, we all get discouraged, right? I mean, we see it with startups, we see it with even big companies. There is a sense of discouragement, especially because we are all dealing in a not the greatest economy, a lot of challenges, a lot of competition. So it's very easy to discourage, but like you mentioned, it's perseverance and sticking to your goals that are those that really make it out on top. So, a little bit of a shameless plug. Let's talk about your line. Tell us about your clothing line. I know you have a lot of different projects going on,
yeah,
but I want the audience to learn a little bit more about
yeah.
your line.
Of course. Yes. So I started a clothing brand about a year and a half ago at this point. It might be 2 years. The brand's name is Imani, and I chose on here, as you can see, this is
Mhm.
a snow leopard. I
Yeah.
know it's blurring out a little bit. A snow leopard, and I chose a snow leopard because it's an endangered species that it's a very beautiful cat, and
Hmm.
I want to help prevent it from going fully extinct,
Hmm.
which is also the slogan for my brand, which is RB&E, which stands for
Hmm.
rare but not extinct. So
Wow.
also, as well as it resembles the individuals wearing it because it's a certain type of person, but also
Right.
these cats are currently rare, but the goal is to not let them go extinct. The same with the type of people that wear my brand specifically. So
Great.
that's the quick story behind it. And today I'm just making more pieces. Like I just created my Aaliyah hoodie, I'm calling it for now.
Hmm.
And it's something that I did back in not high school, college. I
Hmm.
drew this digital painting. It's one of my favorite. Well, she is my favorite artist,
Hmm.
and I wanted to give her, her own piece too. I just thought it would be cool. So I
Yeah.
ended up taking this picture that I drew back in college,
Uh-huh.
and I made it into a hoodie that I've been wanting to do, and I was able to do that, and did it successfully, and it
That's
looks
great.
really good. Actually, I'll show you guys in a second here, but
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah.
And where can people buy your product?
Yes. So my website is imani.com.
Okay.
So it's emohny.com.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
also the Imani, because people may wonder where that name comes from. It's actually my middle name. So
Okay.
wow, that's how it went.
Excellent.
But I'll show you really quick too.
Sure.
Super nice hoodie. But here it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
And then here's the back of it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. So yep.
Give the audience again the website address again. So
It's EMOHNY
.com.
.com. Yep. Imani.com.
Perfect. All righty. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about, actually the topic was suggested by you, and I think it's a fantastic topic. Whether, to when you're starting a business or you're in different phases of growth, should you as an entrepreneur tackle marketing by yourself, or oftentimes we see it with family members, or should you go out and hire an agency?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great question. I think it's a question that I think we should all ask. And I think that there are certain times that, there's pros and cons to both, right?
Yes.
But I think that it's not so much if you should do it, or I think it's more of where you are in your cycle, right? And everybody's different. Some people have a little more knack for marketing, or they have a little bit more of a technological background. But then it comes over also the issue of time. So what I want to do is kind of tackle this question, not so much about the type of business, but actually in the stage that a business is in. And then we can kind of analyze each section, and I want to get your opinion on it, and take it from there. Sounds good? All righty. Oh, I think we lost her. Let's see. So while we wait for Kayana to come back, we'll break it down into these three sections and see whether when is the right time to, if it's the right time to hire an agency or not. So I think she's having some technical issues. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. She got kicked off. Let's see if she's able to come back in. Sometimes we have, okay, here she's back.
Yes. I don't
All right, here you are.
know.
Technology, it happens. So,
Yes, right?
all right, so I'm going to jump right in, and then feel free to
Okay.
ask any questions. And I know you have some great insights into this because you've been through it. You've been part of our mentor program. So I'm going to start with the pre-planning phase. I think a lot of people jump into new businesses without doing their due diligence.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, the stats tell us that, and not to be a pessimist, but the majority of e-commerce sites and businesses fail. Sometimes even up to 80% of e-commerce sites fail, and a lot of it has to do because there's very poor planning, there is very poor alignment between product and pricing. There's no marketing strategy put in place. And again, we're still talking about in the pre-planning of it. And then there's also poor site development. Now, the issue is that, oftentimes as solopreneurs, we're very limited in funds, right? We want to be able to get our dream going, so to speak. We want to be able to get our products shown, but unfortunately, it's a sea of people, of companies that oftentimes are already established, and even themselves are having issues. So there is always that dilemma of, okay, am I able to sustain this? Do I have time for it? Am I able to turn this into a full-time thing? What were your thoughts when you were trying to decide? I mean, some decisions are made for us, right? I mean, I have X amount allocated. I can afford to spend $5,000-$6,000 a month in an agency, so I need to do it by myself. So, in the pre-planning, what is the best way you think if somebody wants to do it themselves?
Yes, from my experience with a whole bunch of trial and error, it's really first looking at what you know you need. So whether it's you need social media, or you're gonna need to really be able to get successful off of ads. It's understanding the way of success, the most common way in your industry. So, for example, with clothing brands, a lot of the success comes from ads as well as the content itself and the brand story. So knowing that you can start out with the brand story, making sure that you master the brand story. Outside of that, when you start to make content, make sure that you're making decent content, like good quality content. And then when it comes to the ads, you now can use the content that you're already pushing out just to push it a little more. And I think the best way to do this is to try small amounts, like whether it's $1, because you have like Instagram, which allows you
Right.
to do very small amounts. Obviously, you're not going to get the world's best results
Of course.
off of $1, but it will help you find your audience. So I think that's really for me, like how I was starting to, the way I started to move, and making sure my website was right. All the back end things first are the most important, in my opinion, because outside of that, once you get it going, you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, Troy, thank you very much for your comments. Um, the issue of quality over quantity in content is something that is so important that we even advise our larger clients that want to push so much content because they have this idea that more content will lead to more sales, but it's all about quality of the content, right? So this is where oftentimes an entrepreneur and even an established company can really go head to head, because it's not always about the quantity of it, but the quality. Is the message clear? Is the message being able to be seen by the right set of eyes? Are you targeting to the right audience? These are all things that require research, require time. And I think a lot of people jump really fast. They have a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, say, oh, I can go on Shopify, I can go on WooCommerce or whatever, and I'm just going to put products up there and I'm going to get sales. And it doesn't work like that. It never does. And I think that's the issue, is that people just jump into it too fast. And this is what I call the pre-planning phase. It's so crucial, and oftentimes it's so important because you're laying the groundwork, right? You're laying the foundation for your brand, for your company, and oftentimes it is, like you said, trial and error. I think eventually that through the trial and error, if you manage to break through, so to speak, and find your niche, find your audience, find your channel, hey, fantastic. But a lot of people just keep trying, and through fault of no one,
Right.
they fail, and we see it often. And that's when I think it's time to talk to an expert, not necessarily hire an agency, But I think there's a lot of good advisors out there. There's a lot of good people that can certainly guide you in this crucial phase, right? What you need to do in order to save time, because your trial and error period, could be months. We've even had some clients that have attempted uh, a year, because they hear something from one person, they hear something, they see a YouTube video, they hear it from a forum or something like that, and they get lost in this trial and error, and before you know it, they're running out of money and their money's gone, right? Because all the platforms still want their money, all Shopify, WooCommerce,
Right.
whatever. Where you got to maintain your website. These are all costs that are keep going, money that keeps going out, but nothing's coming in because you're in that trial and error phase. And that's great if that trial and error, time frame is fairly short, and you're able to then say, okay, I know what I need to do. But most of the time, there's failure there. So
Right.
this is what I think is after a trial and error of a couple of months. You got to say, you know what, I got to talk to an expert. Or you may even think about that right away, right? I know I want to start selling product A. I know I want to sell this. There's a gazillion and one different information out there on how to do it, but I'm going to actually talk and sit down with someone that has the experience. We actually, as you know, because being part of our program, I'm going to put here in the chat our courses in helping people lay down the groundwork and pre-plan their online business, so they don't have to spend months and months of trial and error. As you know, we work with hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce sites and companies, and automation, and also B2B. So it's not hiring an agency; it's getting good, solid advice that you can actually start using right away, and you don't have to keep doing a lot of trial and error. I think you brought up a great story, and I want you to discuss that because I want to talk about implementation. We're talking about pre-planning. We're talking about what needs to be all your ducks in a row in order to get your business going. And now it's time to implement, right? It's time
Right.
to put everything that you've put on paper into action.
Right.
And this is an extremely crucial part. So you're entering, and you have to enter the market prepared. So this is when you have your marketing plan in place, you have your product lines if you're selling online,
Right.
or you have all your products, all your ducks in a row, right? I mean, leaving nothing to chance. I've actually had the pleasure of working with a pretty big company. They do cosmetics. It's a startup, and when they approached us, they had written their whole plan out just in a document, Word doc or Notion, whatever, and they really were to the point of looking at every single aspect and scenario. Granted, a little bit too much overboard, perhaps, but they really wanted to save time and enter the market. They took their time beforehand, looked at all the scenarios, product line. They did a complete competitive analysis, pricing structure, what kind of platform. So when they came to us, they said, you know what, here's our plan. How does it look? How can we go to market? And that lengthens the sustainability of the brand, but it also shortens the time of implementing that, because we don't have to, guess it. So I definitely recommend people to do that. And if it takes a little bit of extra time, so be it. Take the extra time and do that. So it's a phase where you want to be careful whether you want to take this entire process upon yourself, or if it's time now to say, you know what, I did my pre-planning, I did my due diligence. Now it's time I actually hire an agency. And it's not pre-planned. The pre-planning phase, an agency cannot really help you with that. Sure, they can give you advice and all that, and that's where the private consultation kind of comes in. But at the end of the day, implementing it, you have to decide whether, okay, now I have to design the website, pick the platform, upload the products, upload the pictures, write descriptions, input my marketing, finding influencer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And this is where the real struggle happens. And I want to share. I want you to share that anecdote of the driving, because I just loved it. I know that you sent it to me because it makes a lot of sense. And I would want the audience to really hear that, because it makes a lot of sense. And it's very, it's not one-sided. It doesn't really promote one or the other. It's very balanced, but it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And I wanted to make sure I remembered what you were what you were speaking on when we were talking about that. Was I thinking we were comparing like marketing itself to the driving?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it's like the learning to drive. That's what it was. The learning to drive anecdote. You know,
Yes.
whether you wanna, you know, what is the difference between learning how to drive a car yourself versus hiring an expert that does it for you. You know.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I,
um,
oh, go
do you
ahead.
want do you want me to go over it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
I'll go over
I
it.
don't remember everything I said.
It's okay. No, no, you laid it out very good. It's great. It's basically makes sense. Is that, you know, you can watch videos, you can read books on driving, you can take online courses, and you can, you know, learn to practice in a safe environment, in a parking lot. You gradually you gain confidence and experience, but that they takes time. You know, it's a trial and error. Really to become a safe driver. Nowadays, there's a lot of crazy drivers, but so when you mentioned this anecdote, I think it was great because you know, just like marketing, it involves picking up a lot of knowledge. There's so many, especially nowadays with AI. You know, it's just um, everything seems now so open. They make it, everybody makes it sound so easy to start a business. Oh, now you have AI, they can write this and do this, and you just have to push a few buttons, and you know, you can create a $1 million business. So the barriers to entry have even gone further down, giving a lot of people the illusion. And again, I'm not here to discourage anyone, but there's just that this information overload of, yes, you know, make yourself a millionaire and start a e-commerce site, and you don't have to ever work for the rest of your life and all that. So so I think that's the problem in it. And I think in your anecdote you say that, you know, you can start driving on your own, but there's always, you know, obstacles, traffic, split-second decisions. So you got to always be adaptable and really pay attention in order to become a good driver. On the other hand, if you hire an expert, so to speak, to drive you around, a chauffeur kind of thing,
Right. Mhm.
the driver has already many years of experience. They understand the traffic, they understand the routes, they can get you from one place to another because maybe they know the back roads, they know the quickest way to get you from point A to point B. So it takes that burden off your shoulders
Yes.
and gives you the opportunity to now work on other things, right?
Mhm.
So you're not, you know, too focused on your business or I should say, you're not focused too much on running your business as opposed to making business, right? So there's a big difference between the two. So the limo driver, the chauffeur is driving you, getting you from point A to point B. In the meantime, you're taking that time to work on other things,
Mhm.
increasing your brand, making connections, expanding your market, strategizing. So that takes the load off. So that's the kind of the same thing when you hire a marketing expert or an agency, they already have the know-how and the experience to get you from point A to point B in the quickest, most efficient way. So I think I love that you presented that anecdote, because I think it doesn't necessarily favor one over the other.
Mhm.
because there are some constraints, right? The big constraint, obviously, is that hiring an agency is going to take money, right?
Right.
So I think that what's extremely important is that you're going to have to choose your battles, right? You're going
Mhm.
to have to know, okay, be realistic with yourself. Do I have the time to do it? Do I have the experience and the knowledge, or at least even just I have a lot of customers that, started a business because they
Mhm.
had a true passion about it. But then they're like, you know what, this is as far as I can take it. This is where it stops, and I have to be real with myself. And is now is the right time to take it to the next level. And I think that happens a lot in the implementation phase. So in the pre-planning, I would definitely recommend talking with an expert. Like I said, we do a lot of private consultations. We make sure that someone that is thinking of starting a business, that they have not just their marketing but their budget lined up. They
Mhm.
have their even we even help them find vendors, help them create distribution channels. So when it comes time to implementation, they have all their ducks in a row. And then at implementation, obviously, here's where the big decision comes: is, okay, do I take this on by myself, or I have some money set aside? Let me hire an agency. And like anything, there's a big spectrum of agencies. You can start off with something small that's within your budget, and
Yeah.
then there's turnkey agencies that will take your product as a whole and go full steam on the marketing aspect of it. Again, thanks again for the car driving anecdote, because I think it's fantastic. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to add in this journey that you're going through?
I well, what I did know too is when you're starting out again, it's if you don't have the circumstances where you get to start out with capital or anything like that. Obviously, if you start out with capital, it does make the most sense to just, hit the ground running, eliminate that one obstacle. But if you don't have that, it's the first mission is how do I make enough to, for example, pay an agency at this
Right.
point? Because I
Right.
think at the end of the day, no matter what business you're in, it's best to know how to operate the entire business because if something happens or you lose someone, you can, supplement
Exactly.
for that. So it's so
It's
important to
crucial.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because once you know your business, and even if you have a little bit of knowledge, as you grow, you're able to communicate. You reach the point that you say, okay, you know what? I did the site, I did my business. I can only take it so far. Now it's time to hire someone. But now you're speaking the same language, right? Now you're
Mhm.
knowledgeable. Now you have the experience. So whether or not someone has uh, some kind of a capital investment, or has money put aside to put in the business, regardless if they have $100,000 or $500 to start the business, either scenario, the person, the entrepreneur, should have the knowledge, should want to know how to do things and learn. And there's so many great courses out there. Udemy is a great online course platform. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of good information on YouTube. My only concern is just be careful about purchasing uh, high ticket success courses, that are kind of spammed on Facebook and all that. Start out with a good source of courses. Google and Facebook both have certification courses, so you want to be able to learn, and those courses usually are free. So you want to be able to educate as much as possible.
Mhm.
But like you said, if the capital is there, definitely the suggestions is, once you're into that implementation phase, go with the agency, because it's gonna save you. Your rate of return is gonna be a lot quicker, right? You don't have to go through that trial and error that could take you
Exactly.
months. With an agency, you're gonna hit the ground running with already a solid plan. And then I think the final stage, which is the sustaining and growth, is that if you reached, say that you say, you know what, I started my online business and my goal is to make a reasonable return. I want to make, gee, it would be nice if I make 10, 15. You don't have to make $100,000 a month, but I said, look, you know what? I'll be happy if I'm making, $15,000 a month in sales. It's not going to change my life, but it's going to allow me to do some great things, and it's going to give me some security, financial security. And at that point, a lot of people will have to face a decision, whether is, and it comes back to the concept of picking your battles, is, do I stay the course? Do I maintain, or do I try to grow to the next level? And everyone should be aspiring to do better. I'm not saying that, but there's an difference between, because even maintaining costs money. So while you're in maintenance mode, and this has a lot to do with the economy and variables that we cannot control. So job growth, unemployment, economy, a lot of different things are in the mix. So a lot of companies would say, you know what, now is not the best time to perhaps expand into this market, or launch a new product. Companies should always have that concept of growth. What I'm really referring to is those companies that say, you know what, I'm doing X, and next year I want to do 10X, and I know it's going to cost me X amount. So sometimes maintaining the course is the right way to do it. And in even just maintaining the course, it costs money, right? We always recommend that clients update their website at least twice a year, that they keep their SEO up to date, improve perhaps now, if you're in that status quo, work on improving your customer service, maybe find new vendors, add new product lines. So it's staying the course, but you're still maintaining your business. You're still keeping up to date. Whereas if you say, you know what, I think that companies that reach, past $150,000, $200,000 a year, I think there's only, that's where you really need a marketing department, or at least an individual that handles your marketing, because now it has become a full-time company that will require assistance. And yeah, there are a few scenarios where a 1 or 2 person team can make 6 figures out of their home, kind of thing, but they're few and far between. Every scenario is different, but by rule of thumb, you start going into those 6 figures, you definitely need some help, and you don't want, then it becomes an issue of balance between life and your business, and you want to always have a good balance between the two.
Exactly.
So what now that your business has been implemented, what are your next challenges, do you think?
I think right now my challenges are going to be picking because I've already gotten how I want the stories to play out, the different things like that. I think the biggest part is getting the traction that I'm looking for. And I know it's just going to take time, because again, when I get to explain the story behind the brand, the reason that we have the logo that we have, and those things, that always intrigues people. So I know, going ahead and expressing that story is going to be a good point to start out with. So I think right now it'll be awareness. And once I get that awareness out there, just again, posting content of the clothing and the stuff that we're working on and getting that traction, I think is going to be, but once you get it, you're good to go. So I know I just have to stay the course. And
yeah, I mean, it's you already have a great brand. It's a matter of like I said, staying the course, traction, making sure that there's consistency. That's also another big thing, that we see, that individuals will kind of have a hiccup, I call it, where hiccup, like, okay, I start up, oh great, and then nothing. They really push you for a month, and then they get discouraged, and then they put on the back burner, and then they start up again. You got to have consistency, and there's so many tools out there to allow you to be consistency now. Posts are scheduled. There are a lot of great apps, repurpose. I think Munch. There's a lot of apps out there that will allow you to repurpose content. So and there's always platforms like Fiverr and Upwork that allow you to give you a little bit of assistance, because we just ran out of time in the day,
Right.
and so this happens to me as well. I'm a little bit of a control freak. Instead of delegating to my team, oftentimes I was like, well, I'll just do that, and that's the
Right.
mistake I think that a lot of business owners do,
Mhm.
is that making sure that if you have a team in place, to properly delegate work, so an individual, a founder or a business owner can really concentrate on the things that they're meant to do, not really get involved too much in the day to day, but actually start
Right.
expanding their business, strategizing new marketing channels, and all the other fun stuff. And especially in technology, I spend at least 1 or 2 days a week um, trying to find new technology, trying to offer new services to our clients. And in return, our clients are very thankful for that,
Mhm.
because we update them and say, hey, there's this new program that does A, B, and C, or there's this new technology, or there's this new AI that allows us to do this for you. And so I spend a good chunk of my week exploring new technology, because it's moving so fast, especially with AI. AI is the core, but now every industry is using it, and a big part of it is, how can my business use AI to not only internally but externally. So we help a lot of businesses use AI in their automation process,
Mhm.
because a lot of people just see AI as just like ChatGPT, and they only see one part of it, but there's just a whole world
Mhm.
of uses for it. And that's where our team is very good at identifying issues with companies, and using AI, and just innovative strategies to make their business grow. But I'm so excited. I'm finally got you on. I know that we've been trying to get you on for
Right.
a while. And so, what is the next, besides the creating content? What do you think is your next big goal for your brand?
Um, honestly, my biggest goal right now is one, raising the awareness. But I know once I get to the sales portion, which I think I was gonna say is my other challenge, is getting that fear of growth to make sure that I'm able to maintain, I'm growing with it, and I'm able to quickly accommodate for needs versus getting behind, and now it becomes overwhelming. Because,
Right.
like you were talking about, is knowing when I actually am financially able to just delegate many things, so that I don't
Exactly.
have to do like the, what is the term they use? It's I think it's minimum wage activities. So I don't have to
Right.
do those things, and I can focus on the brand and pushing it and getting the, making sure that the message is clear and all of that. So it's really, that's like the biggest part for me in getting to that point. So that I know who I want to do what for me, and then finding good people for my company.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge, even ourselves, it's difficult. I think, getting people who align with your core competency, with your message, with your brand, is so important. Things can be taught, right? But and there's nothing wrong with getting someone that is fairly inexperienced, as long as they share your vision, as long as they have, you have that common ground. A lot of things can be taught, can be explained. So I tell this to a lot of our clients, is if you're in that growth cycle, make sure that you grow with people that share your vision,
Hmm.
because otherwise there's going to be conflicts down the road.
Hmm.
That's a big thing. If you were to give advice to someone who is starting their online business, what would be the biggest advice, or the most important advice? There's so much out there, right, to cover, but that one thing to say to people, that are thinking, what, I'm going to start an online business. What would you advise them?
Well, my advice to someone that wants to start an online business Is that was the question? Because it went
Yeah.
out and then okay.
Oh,
I just
I'm
want to.
sorry. Yeah, the advice someone if someone is thinking about you went through it, you're going through it, but with success. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is thinking of starting an online business?
This probably correlates to any type of business you want to start, but I would say make sure you're not doing it for the money just because you think, oh, it's a quick way to get money. Because you're gonna be disappointed. You're gonna end up wasting a lot of money and then you're gonna quit. So I think for starters, that's the first piece of advice. But then the only other thing I would want to say is just like what you were talking about earlier, I had to learn this the hard way. um Watch the free content you can find because most of the times you don't need to buy a course, you don't need to buy a
Yep.
book. You have the resources on YouTube. If you connect like with things on Meetup, like that's how I
Yep.
met Mateo, and you connect with these individuals. Most entrepreneurs want to help other entrepreneurs. We're all That's how we are. So
Yep.
if you and take the necessary time and take time out of your day to do these things and put time and effort into it, it will pay off. It's not the most fast way, but when you're stuck trying to find a get rich quick scheme, that's where you spend a lot of money, get caught up in scams and things like that. And you don't want that to happen. So it's find your passion. And if that's what you're passionate about, find someone that you want to copy, that you want, like you like what they do and you want to do something similar. Study everything, their marketing, their branding, all
Yep.
of it, and then go to YouTube.
That's gosh, that's such a great advice. There's something that we've talked about this in the past,
Mhm.
and we talk about how if you have a strong passion for something, like you said, it's gonna pull you through when you're up and down, right? Even when you're starting off, you may have a good month, you may have a slow month, you may come across obstacles, but it's the passion that you have for the product or the service that will keep you going. Because if you're in it just for the money, you're gonna get discouraged very,
Exactly.
very fast. And so Kayana has some amazing advice, and it's true. It really makes a lot of sense, and that's the way we approach for our clients is making sure that they have realistic expectations, that we're transparent with our clients. We give them, the tools to help them succeed. And at the same time, like you said, there's a lot of good free material out there.
Mhm.
And that's what being a business owner is about, just researching and find the business model that you can relate to, and then see, always just like us, an agency, we do split tests, we try different things. Well, an individual can do the same thing, right? I mean, it's a matter of trying different things and not always reinventing yourself, because you got to have that brand consistency. But at
Yeah.
the same time, you want to be able to keep trying, because the market changes, right? And you got to be able to change with it.
Mhm.
And if you reach the point where you've done your research and you've put in the effort and you say, you know what, I need a little bit of help, um, you know, agency like us, like SEO Monitor, are here to help. There's our link to our website. Any other words, Kayana, for our audience?
As well, so because I have worked with you and your company, and I know what I do like is, again, my biggest thing as an entrepreneur is you want to, if you're going to spend your money, spend it with someone that's trustworthy. And I do know that you and your company is trustworthy. So it is definitely a good agency. I know I plan on reconnecting with you guys soon in the
Awesome.
future. So, but yeah, and I love the responsiveness, the quick, you guys get back to everyone quickly. So yeah, I
Thank
think
you,
that's the,
Kayana. Thank you
yeah.
for those kind words. We love, especially working with people that are enthusiastic and working as a team, because we really don't see clients as clients. We see them as being part of our team, because there has to be that two-way communication in order to make the growth. It cannot just be set it and forget it. We don't like to work like that. We like to work with our clients, making sure that their objectives are reachable and work within their constraints, whether it's a financial constraint, a time constraint. We want to be able to make them succeed. That's why also all our services are month to month. There's no long-term contract. And we have, as you know, we've had customers for over 7 years. We have like a 92% retention rate. Customers stick with us because we give them the results, and we're able to be flexible, because business has to be flexible. There's too many variables, so it's always about trying new initiatives, finding the initiative that works, pushing that, and then constantly analyzing. And if anything, along with the great words of Kayana, with really being passionate, is secondly, look at your analytics. Spend some time. You don't have to be a statistician to read your analytics, because your analytics are important. Don't just go by gut feeling. Install your Google Analytics. Anytime you have information that you can see, Shopify has a great backend analytics. Look at the numbers. You don't have to go so granular, but it will tell you how healthy your site and your business is, and numbers don't lie. So keep looking at those analytics, and then if you want to feel free to reach out to us, and for as an agency, or you can also work with me like Kayana has done in the past on a one-on-one basis, to make sure that all your ducks in a row, and take your business to the next level. Kayana, thank you so much. It was awesome spending these 45 minutes with you. And you definitely have to come back and tell us how the growth of your company has. You want to give a quick shout out again to your company, to your website again?
Oh, yes. It's Emohny, EMOHNY.com. And that's where you'll find it.
Go check it out. It's some awesome stuff, and it's been a pleasure to see it grow. And again, continued success, Kayana, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.